Hello, welcome back to Baki Taki, the final season, final 4 episodes. This one is Tears Swelling, episode 11 of season 5. This one was a lot of fun. We're in the fun fight now, and to help us discuss it, we've got longtime guest of the show. It's Phil.
Oh, glad to be back and just in time to kind of wrap everything up. It's the exciting finale. You could ask for more.
Yeah. It's funny. I was looking at the episodes you'd been on before, and I realized, like, if you had done the next one, you would have done the third episode we ever done and the third last episode. But third and
missed out on that.
Yeah. Always next podcast I'll do that. So Phil, I have a question that I've been asking everybody. There's only a few episodes left of the show, and you're one of the few people who didn't have a chance to actually see how the show ends. What do you want to see in these final episodes?
Well, I mean, obviously it's building to this fight between Yujiro Hanma and Baki. And, like, well, that's the climax. I think I really just want to find Baki find peace within himself, you know. I think, obviously, the fight is the real, material end of this. And we'll get to it a little bit in this episode in terms, though, of, what it actually means to be forever challenged by your father and have that as your goal. So
it does,
outside of just attaining his goal, that there's more to it than just that,
Yeah, it does seem in this episode that Baki's got a bit of a hole inside him that needs to be filled.
Exactly.
And who knows if violence is the answer. That's one of there's a show I watched a while ago, and they had this scene where, like, they were trying everything they could think of to solve a problem, and this one girl just picked the guy up and just started violently shaking him. And they're like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, I thought
violence would be the answer."
I've always enjoyed that quote.
It's like that scene out of, like, Airplane where they're just, like, slapping the woman. Wait, it's like, we gotta knock some sense into her. It's like, wait, let me try.
They fade back through the line. People have got, like, clubs and stuff. Oh my god, such a good movie. All right, so let's jump into this episode. So this is the father-son fight, the greatest father-son fight in history, and of course we are midway through it. So why don't you set the scene for how it starts? Like, did you understand what was going on?
A little bit. I mean, we do jump right into Baki being a Triceratops in this episode, which is pretty bizarro.
This goes way, way back. It's from T-Rex's greatest rival, Triceratops.
And he's obviously, he's kind of like, it's interesting, right? Like, this obviously is the culmination of all the previous seasons, all these techniques and masteries he's learned and things like that. So this is obviously relating a little bit to some of that pickle business and the prehistoric stuff, I guess. But yeah, I mean, he is the Triceratops ready to kind of take charge at Yujiro. Classically, the Triceratops known as the T-Rex's greatest enemy. Like, as any paleontologist could tell you.
History's greatest rival.
26 feet tall, too. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but that's like over 3 stories. So I feel like they weren't that big.
It's funny that you say you weren't 100% sure. That guy was 100% sure that he was exactly 26 feet tall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Everyone there was convinced they saw them.
It's unbelievable.
You could say that again.
This thing is huge. It's so tall. It's at least 26 feet.
Editor Steve here. So Phil's correct. Triceratops were 26 to 30 feet long, not tall. But at the same time, if Baki believed that Triceratops were this tall, like he just misread a Google article, and he is imagining that he is this tall Triceratops, really, like, what's stopping him? I just want to comment, like, in the first season, I feel like the crowd had a lot of great lines, and I haven't heard a lot of crowd lines, but this episode, every time the crowd spoke, it killed me. Like, the guy in the crowd who's just saying that the imaginary dinosaur is 26 feet tall. It's so good.
Yeah, the narrator also had some like great lines too, where it's like showed his horns. It's like the weapons of mass destruction. And again, I'm like, I do not think they finally understand what a triceratops is.
This is what
Like,
this is what
like
Bush was looking for in Iraq.
yeah, it like ate grass. It was like very territorial, but I don't think it was like ever charging some T Rexes in like some sort of turf war of dinosaurs.
You say that, but like, were you there? Were you there 190 million years ago with the cavemen?
That's true.
Yeah.
I also made note of this too, just really quickly when you brought up the crowd.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I also just love that there are all these like super generic looking people. And then every now and then it would just show like Dopo or Rochi, and he would just be like this insane looking man in a top hat.
Yeah.
That's like head and shoulders above everyone else, but like nobody, like he's just there in the crowd as well.
Yeah, Dopo's just he's just like everyone in the crowd. It's so weird. I would have thought they'd put more people in watching, and they do add a few people as the fight goes on, like Pickle's watching, but like they use Dopo for a lot of reaction shots in this episode.
A lot.
You little punk. Only 18 years old and you're already there, huh?
And I mean, you mentioned Pickle watching. He's watching from like a roof, who knows where. They just say like raw primitive power, and then it just like cuts to him on a random roof, and it's like, what? How do you get there?
It just seems inconvenient, honestly, having to climb all the way up there and back all the time. So Baki's turned into a Triceratops to the point where Yujiro doesn't even see Baki anymore. It's just a Triceratops. I personally loved the little montage of scenes of Yujiro as a child and as an adult constantly thinking about dinosaurs.
As a child, Yujiro had often thought of them. As he awakened to his body's strength, he often thought of them. In truth, even as a full-fledged adult, he often thought of them.
This sounds like a meme edit where like I took something out of context, but he is referring to dinosaurs for all of those and being like, could I fight them? I was like, this guy is me for real. Like, I just love that.
I mean, yeah, he looks like he's enjoying this like a little too much too. I mean, like throughout the episode, like his facial expressions never really make sense, but especially when he's like confronting this dinosaur, they're just next level, like twisted.
Yeah, his face is very distinct in this. Like he is wide-eyed. Like it's like a joyful, excited happiness he has for a lot of this. Because like he's always wanted something that can challenge him, and I guess to know how strong a dinosaur is. And his son running at him has answered both of these questions.
I was gonna say the face is reminiscent if you ever saw those games of like Sweet Tooth, like a Sweet Tooth mask.
No.
Twisted Metal Black. It's a deep
Oh,
cut,
yeah, okay. The clown face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like super bizarro grin and everything. But yes, go ahead about the special name.
Oh, I was just gonna say they call Baki's special move the Triceratops fist, but it's just he just runs up and tackles him. Like it doesn't seem like it's a punch in any way, at least from what I can tell.
And so Baki launched his attack, one he'd never used before. Triceratops Fist!
Yeah, it's and he like pushes him quite hard. Like we're talking through vehicles, well, not through vehicles, but he's pushing vehicles. But it doesn't really seem to phase Yujiro. I guess he accomplished his childhood dream of fighting a Triceratops and came out generally on top.
Yeah, he held on. I will say that the shot of Baki pushing Yujiro into a car and then pushing the car, I don't know why, but that was my favorite animation of the episode. Like it felt like I was watching a clip out of the Flintstones with like his little legs moving this giant car and man. Maybe it's just because I got so used to seeing the Triceratops and then seeing Baki representing it. It just sort of seemed goofy, but I don't know. I love that shot.
It's a good one. Those sounds his legs make.
Exactly. Oh man, Phil, you're missing your calling. You gotta move into the Foley world.
Well, so then after that we get a beautiful shot of all these different animal poses.
Oh my god, yes.
I kind of have their name. They're all just called something Kens.
Yeah.
I didn't write them all
Beach
down.
Ken.
But you got. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but I their names like Coyote Ken or Terra Ken, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yushu-Ken imitates the bear's fighting style, right? Koke-Ken is derived from the tiger's force. Toro-Ken imitates the fighting style of the mantis.
I'm just Ken, and I'm enough, and I'm great at doing stuff.
And of course, this means bear fist or tiger fist or praying mantis fist. And Yujiro does. I loved this. He starts doing those type of things and then just sort of starts waving his hands around. And Baki's like, "What the hell is he trying to do?"
What kind of movements are those? What's he imitating?
You idiot. These moves aren't anything. I'm just making them up.
And it turns out he is doing the Yujiro fist, basically.
Yeah. I wrote it as the Yujiro Ken.
Yujiro.
But he literally is just like, I'm just making this up. And it's like, oh man. It's one of the weirdest, most like bizarre like fighting manga circular logic things where he's like, I am one of the strongest creatures, therefore I will emulate my own fist.
I like it though. Like it makes me think. So when I was playing D&D with Christian, I was a druid, right? And I was a wild shape druid. And what that means is I can turn into like a bear or an elephant or things like that. But the funny thing is, whatever I turn into was like 95% of the time just a shittier thing than whatever I was fighting. Because like obviously if I was stronger than it, then like you wouldn't need the rest of your party. And that's sort of what I was thinking of with Baki. It's like it's really impressive for me to turn into a bear. But if I'm fighting like, I don't know, a guy who can throw a bear 100 feet away. At the end of the day, yeah, it's not like Yujiro really needs to do anything to beat these creatures that Baki can become.
No, it's true. It's a great point.
Like it'd be like if I was like gonna play basketball against LeBron James and I transformed into like Brian Scalabrine. Like it'd be cool, but I don't think I'd win.
As I say, but in turning into himself, he unlocks some sort of weird ethereal energy and is able to shoot. Like I'm not quite sure what the heck it is.
I have no idea.
All of a sudden, these energy blasts start coming from him.
Yeah, that's like a Godzilla move. Like I don't know why he was able to. I thought it was just a stylistic thing, you know, until that guy says, that's the shape of the light we saw. Which also, what does that mean?
It felt like pure power. His roundhouse made a perfect arc through the air. But just like with the punch, an invisible force was let loose all around him. And then he sent it blasting outwards. It became visible as it gained physical form.
They all start commenting on it. I mean, you say it reminds you of Godzilla. To me, it's like it looks literally like Street Fighter. Like he's just like he's literally Ken just shooting fucking energy or Ryu out of his hands.
Yeah, Hadoken. It's nice.
I'm just Ken.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
It makes no sense. Like he flexes his shirt off. That's fine. That's Baki. A wave of energy comes out. Yeah. That's fine. That's Baki. It's style. But like from what I can tell, what we're supposed to believe is that light shot out of his back, and the light was in the shape of his back, which I guess is how vision works. But I don't think that's what they're implying.
I mean, it's quite the effect, and it's felt by everybody. I mean, like, at least we're not the only ones that are super confused. Like, it's very clear everybody's very confused by what the heck is going on.
Well, that's you can tell from one of the other great line records. Like this, I have so many crowd shots in my notes. Like, first of all, this is the shape of the light we just saw. But then another guy before that said, "Now it's getting really weird."
Now it's getting really weird.
Oh man. But yeah, so that's how Yujiro reveals the strongest fist form, the Yujiro form, which he's quite proficient at. Baki says that he nails it.
Yeah, it's the perfect roundhouse kick. Which I mean, I didn't realize like a roundhouse kick was necessarily like had to be super round, but apparently that is a requisite, and he nailed it. So there you go.
Yeah, geometric shapes, very important. But the thing is, Baki doesn't take this as like, at the end, like, I guess it makes sense that Baki's not too thrown off by this because it's like, oh, I'm fighting Yujiro. Oh shit, he knows Yujiro form. So Baki just he manages to get probably his biggest win of the fight so far, and he uses his immense speed to almost knock Yujiro down. One thing I'll comment on that I really liked his move where he kicked his foot forward to stop himself from falling down.
That was so cool. He just is like, "Hoya," and his nose is like just touching it.
It's like, how do you say that Baki's knocked him down, but also not actually knock him down? It's like a writing problem, and then it's like, okay, this is how we'll do it. But yeah, what did you think of that Baki's little like predictive technique?
Okay, this is another thing, and this is only again related to anime. But like as a reader of One Piece, even with the energy to it, it gives off like a lot of like One Piece like hockey, like you know what I mean? We're definitely getting into this like almost territory of just anime stuff of like, oh, I have super like foresight, or like, oh, I have like this radiating energy. Like it's becoming very like outside the realms of just like fighting and into this kind of like which is good. Like I like it, but it's definitely setting a tone.
Yeah, it does. What's the term for it? Like observation hockey.
And yeah, exactly. And there's like armament hockey, which kind of just sounds like what Yujiro was doing. But I mean, it's a good strike. I mean, it's like the way it's edited is kind of cool because you don't even see it, and then it's like a flashback. But Yujiro, of course, being the master he is able to do these wicked 180 splits to catch himself. So.
But he is legitimately impressed by his son. And this is where we get to sort of, I guess, the emotional core of the episode. Yujiro, at the end of the day, neither of these guys really hate each other. And so Yujiro wants to take a break in the middle of the fight to pat his son on the head. Baki, I'm struggling on how to recap this scene. Like, what did you think about their relationship as you saw this unfurl?
Well, I mean, it's so bizarre because, again, to your point, Yujiro's just like, come here, I want to pat your head. Which, like, in the context of everything that's happened in the entire series, you would go, no, I think, like, I'm okay, right? Like, I don't really want this. Because it's, like, an obvious trap.
If Yujiro said, I'm going to pat... If Yujiro said he was going to pat my head, I'd assume I'm getting at least a concussion.
Exactly. It's not like he's like the cleanest or like most honorable of fighters either. Like,
yeah.
So that being the case, it's kind of like, what? But then, yeah, you really see this like real like trauma dumping by Baki. You just like cannot comprehend a father's love. So it's clear that that's been, to your point, like earlier in this app, like just a whole hole in his heart. You know what I mean? Like, he's just really been missing that from his father.
And, like, he really... Two things. One, he experiences this feeling in his chest, but also the middle of his chest, so not really in his heart, which I thought was an interesting choice. But they described this feeling as, like, pain, but he didn't want it to end. The feeling of receiving praise from his father.
I have it in my notes. It's like the literal Grinch scene where it's like, and all of a sudden the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes, and like zooms in on his chest. Like all we were missing was the fake like X-ray. Otherwise, it would have been like almost identical.
Oh my god! I saw a TikTok today about that scene, and it was somebody interviewing the Grinch, and they were like, So it says you said your heart grew 3 sizes that day. What did that feel like? Like Grinch is like, I felt like I was gonna die.
Very yes, yeah. My left arm went numb.
It'd be a real interesting end to the Grinch. But yeah, so
And then after his heart hurts,
yeah.
after his heart hurts, we then get these shots of Baki with his tears, just like he's not even crying. The tears are just like flowing out of his face.
In that moment, he no longer cared. He didn't care if it was a trap or a trick. It was worth the risk to be touched by the palm of that hand.
Yeah. Well, it's emotional. He finally his father for the first time ever is proud of him. The world's strongest high schooler, and his dad was never proud of him.
It kind of reminds me of, if you ever remember that like YouTube clip that went viral a few years ago of that like football player during the national anthem. It's just like they're just like he's crying, but there's just tears just like flowing out of his face, and it's like tear duct is like super overactive.
Yeah. Oh my god. But so Baki is able to he has enough self-control or self-respect to not go for the head pat. But then Yujiro, as you know, this is what I love about this show is this season has a lot of talks about what strength is. And so Yujiro, as we've discussed, is the world's only brute strength pro. He can do whatever he wants. He can make his son take praise from him. So Yujiro grabs him, puts him in like an arm lock, and then starts patting his head. While Baki, I love the voice actor for Baki in this episode. Also, like his lines where he's going like, "Please, no, stop it."
Now then, you want to know what real strength is? It's this. I just wanted to pat you on the head, but you didn't want me to pat you on the head.
What?
So you know what happens now? I'm gonna pat you on the damn head.
Stop it! No, please, stop!
He definitely got put in his place like pretty handily by Yujiro, which again just kind of like totally emasculates Baki in a way, which is just ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, and it ends with maybe one of the more bizarro scenes.
Oh my god.
Baki. And the show that is particularly bizarre, where
I don't know what
after,
that was
like,
supposed to
crushing
be.
him, Yujiro Hanma just like dips his finger in Baki's blood and just starts like licking it.
Not even licking. He like sucks his finger. Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
it would
it's
be
like a lollipop.
it would be one of the weirder scenes if he licked the blood. But it's so weird that he like coats his finger with it and then just like a popsicle and his huge finger. Oh my god. It was weird. And honestly, it's funny because I wanted to comment on another weird part of this. This whole like mini arc right now is Baki and his dad beating the lights out of each other in public, right? And then this is this scene is literally Yujiro, at the end of the day, he is patting Baki on the head to start, right? And it's at this point that the people in the audience say, "What a monster, bullying his own son, and what a sadistic son of a bitch." This fight started with Yujiro jumping out of a 30-story building and landing on his son. Like, I'm not trying to say this isn't like weird, but like it's not the weirdest thing that's happened so far. The blood thing is though.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just you kind of forget sometimes like there's just like a random crowd of people watching this. It makes you kind of wonder like what they're doing as they're watching it, because like a lot happens and they're just standing there, I guess.
I think they're watching it. I don't know. It's a fight to it's the greatest father-son fight of all time. Like I don't think I need to multitask. What would you be doing at the fight, Phil? Like some online poker on your phone, like
Pokemon going it up, like trying to see if I can catch a little guy there or something. I don't know.
There's a raid right where Yujiro's standing. Can they move?
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be pretty good. All right.
I was gonna say, and then the narrator starts going on this spiel that I had like such a hard time following. I don't know if you followed it at all, but
Which is this
summary
the thing
of
that he
it is-
starts where saying "you are a loser"? Is it that speech?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You are a loser. That was the unspoken accusation behind his father's words.
But the final message, and I just wrote this down, is like his message was clearly conveyed as pain. I'm like, that's a good line right there.
Oh yeah. Everyone's on their A game this episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Baki gets thrown around. He is a loser. Voice of God says so. But before Yujiro can finish the fight with a punch or a stomp, Pickle shows up. And this is, if my favorite animation is Baki pushing the car with his little Flintstone legs, my favorite shot is probably Pickle appearing behind Yujiro. He's lost all of his menace. He looks like a 8-foot tall Barney. Like he's just like, ooh. Yujiro is just
Like he does look like a child. Like he looks like a child, but
Yeah.
in like a massive body.
Yeah. And it's so big. Like I forget how small Yujiro is. Like I feel like he's probably like 5'10" or something. He's under two. He's like I think he's like 200 pounds or something. I don't know. Makes me wonder how tall.
Well, didn't
Baki
they
is.
say? Didn't they say Pickle's like 8 feet though? Isn't it something stupid?
It's stupid in the other direction. Pickle's 6'6". Like Pickle's like an inch or so, 2 inches taller than me.
I thought they said he was really big for some reason, but I guess not.
Well, I think
Anyway,
I've talked about this before. I think they're just wrong. Like he fought a guy that we know is like 7 feet tall, and he was the same height as that guy, but they keep calling him 6. I don't know. They also said that he was 140 million years old, and I know he's 190 million years old. So like, I think the translators just sort of make stuff up half the time.
there's no proof. There's no what is it called? Script supervisor for Baki.
No, script supervisor's at the gym, like working out. But Pickle shows up. Everybody reacts. I wrote down Pickle because I remember Baki said it and I laughed because he was like, Pickle.
What's he doing here? It's that caveman guy. Pickle.
Well, this is a night to remember.
Pickle.
So soft and gentle until Baki immediately punches Pickle's tooth out and yells, "Stay the fuck out of it."
This is none of your business, asshole. So stay the fuck out of it.
Hey, Editor Steve, sorry, Baki. I forgot to tell you, we don't allow people to swear on this podcast. Yeah, a lot of people make that mistake. My bad. Sorry about that. Now, of course, Pickle doesn't speak English, but, he understands. Well, what does he understand,
Yeah.
Phil? We learn a bit about ancient dinosaur times.
Well, we learn about a fundamental law of nature, of course, which is that butting in isn't allowed. And to convey that message, they just show 2 lions fighting, and then one lion just kind of awkwardly off to the side watching.
It's also like, in my opinion, I think butting in is like a huge part of nature. Like,
Absolutely, like it's like the alpha male gets injured in a fight, and then another male is just kind of come and butt in and like finish the job. Like that's how nature works.
yeah. Or what if those 2 lions catched a prey and then a hyena came over? Like the hyena's not going to be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
don't let me butt in. Just finish your
The
dinner."
idea too that it's a fundamental law is if something in our human like animalistic nature is like sees people fighting, they're like, it's more like the bystander effect, if anything. It's like, oh, better not interfere with this. Someone else will deal with it.
Oh my god! Imagine Pickle and like the Kitty Genovese. He's just like
Just standing around like a giant idiot.
He's in his
No, yeah,
apartment
it's
and he doesn't know how to pick up a phone. He's just like, huh? Oh my god. So Pickle. Sorry,
yeah.
you go.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna
Man,
say.
you think we have this fundamental law of not butting in, but we're just terrible at it this episode.
This episode, once I cut out all of the you goes, is gonna be like 5 minutes less. So Pickle ends up just sort of sitting down in the corner, I guess, to watch. Imagine if you were watching and Pickle sat beside you. Like, do you awkwardly walk away, or do you just try and act like it's all cool? Like, I don't know. Pickle eats people, so I just don't trust him.
He's also just, he does this like weird, like he's just kind of, he looks like, again, like a child. Like he's just kind of sitting weirdly, like cross-legged, like all huddled up. Like, it's very strange.
Yeah. Also, just like imagine that. Like, imagine you're at the Super Bowl and then Bigfoot shows up, and then like they just tell him to sit on the sideline, and you're just like, that's really interesting, but I sort of have to watch. I paid tickets to go see the main event.
It's true. Like in theory, this is like maybe one of the greatest like happenings in all of like human history. This like literal caveman from before our time was like unthought, and he's just there like watching this fight, just kind of like vibing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit.
Just like, I hope he doesn't kill me. So that moves us into another part of the fight. Baki tries to do the old move too fast prediction thing on Yujiro. And then Yujiro says, oh my god, it's like, if fighter A can predict fighter's B move, but fighter B can predict if fighter A is going to predict it, but then fighter A can predict B. I don't know how many layers that Baki and Yujiro went through. To be honest, at a certain point, I think it's basically a coin flip. But
yeah, I wrote it as like, fighter A has a move. And then it's funny too, because he's using his hands to just get like a little higher each time. He's like, fighter A will intercept fighter B's move, but in anticipation, fighter B will intercept fighter A's move.
I think that's one of the things I really enjoy with this arc, is that like Yujiro's been with us the entire show, and I feel like we have only seen a very narrow sliver of his character, and like it's not like this fight fleshes him out too much, but I feel like Yujiro has always been like a very thought out character that the author, like I think it's the Itagaki's favorite character, or one of his. And so like whenever he's in a scene, like he feels like, I don't know, he feels like a fleshed out character. He's interacting, he's more lively. I guess to rephrase, he feels like a deeper character than the amount of screen time he gets, which is something I enjoy.
It's true, because he's also been like kind of like the antagonist like the whole time. And to your point, like it's not like he's just there a lot. Like it's not like he's ever.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the aspirational endgame antagonist. That's been kind of the through thread throughout the entire series.
Yujiro's my aspirational goal. Hey, editor Steve here. So this isn't a recommendation for the week, but I was watching Pluto on Netflix, and I'll turn it into a recommendation. It's not bad. But I was watching the English dub, and I realized that there was a character on there played by the guy who does Yujiro, because I was like, I know that voice. There's also a guy named Yujiro in Pluto, which was very odd. Anyway, long story short, I went on IMDb to confirm. Did anybody know that Yujiro and the narrator are the same guy? It's Kirk Thornton. I knew he was the narrator. I didn't know he was Yujiro. Anyway, just dropping that in. Wild. So I think that takes us more or less to the end of the episode. I think they say they're going to basically do like an Old West draw and punch each other.
Yeah. Baki realizes, he's like, okay, well, you're clearly like stronger than me, so I can never just win you straight up. So we're just gonna have to do an old-timey duel with hands in pockets.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my god, is hand pocket coming back? I forgot. It's been a while since I watched that episode. That's good.
It is.
Oh, so good.
Well, that's what it does. It just shows Baki and his hands are in his pockets, and you're like, what? And it just keeps like zooming in on his crotch. And I think the emphasis is supposed to be that his hands are in his pockets, but all it's showing is just his pants.
Oh, I've read that. No, I'm kidding. I might have poured myself a glass of water during the last 20 seconds of this episode. Oh my god.
I mean, it's not much, but it definitely is setting up for a big finale.
Yeah.
And then, well, I guess the only other thing that happens, and this has probably been commented on by other viewers.
Yep.
But the credits roll, and then it's just like, boom, ass shot.
Big stone ass. I think somebody described it as like a statue throwing it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite the just like vision right when the credits roll.
Yeah, that's one of the weirdest aspects of this thing. Like this, I really loved the final arc of Baki Hanma with him fighting his dad, and I think it incorporates a lot of stuff. Even in this episode, we have a lot of callbacks to like Pickle and the dinosaur stuff. But one weird thread that they bring in is the idea that this fight was prophesized by the ancient Egyptians, and that's what those statues are, like carvings of this moment in time. All right, Phil. So that is the end of the episode. My big question for you: you've been around since the beginning. You've been on about 4 episodes. Do you think that Baki has gotten better over time?
Like the show, or like him as a fighter?
Well, obviously he's gotten stronger.
Okay, yeah. The show gotten better? I think maybe not like specifically. I do think that like they really just throw you into it in season 1, and it's a lot of like, what is going on? But you at least have like a bit more recognition of characters and things like that by the end. So there's a bit more like follow through of like, oh, like I recognize some of these characters and it makes sense.
Yeah. It's funny.
Other than that, though, like everything seems very similar. Like I don't know if they've ever made like, to be honest, if anything, they seem to have gone down a little bit on some of the ridiculous fighting animations that would just like come up every now and then.
Yeah, that's fair.
I kind of enjoyed those.
It's funny. It's funny though. I feel like the plot has gotten. I don't know. I think back to your first episode, the one where Baki's just at his school gym doing exercises, and I'm like.
Sure.
I'm glad we've moved past that.
Like from like a story perspective and things like that, like I think it's gotten better just in the sense that it becomes like a bit more like streamlined and grounded in as much as a show like Baki could be grounded. But like the show, like individual elements of the show like feel almost exactly the same. Like it feels also like there's less weird cutaways too, like they're just like more in the episodes than before. They used to just go on these ridiculous tangents for like a while.
Yeah, we don't get as many tangents lately. But, pros and cons. All right, Phil, did you have anything else you wanted to add about Baki in general?
Well, I mean, I just want to, like, congratulations. It's been a long 4 seasons, but we're here. We're at the end. We made it, and it's happy to have been a part of it, to your point, from the 3rd beginning to the 4th end.
It's like poetry. It rhymes. Yeah, well, thank you for coming on so often. And I gotta say, your mic is improved in quality since the first episode.
I wonder if it's the mic itself or that my computer isn't about to take off from a runway. I'm just drowning everything out.
Probably a bit of both. All right. Well, that's all the Baki we've got to talkie. I'll see you all next week.
Oh.
立ち上がれ世界の窮物をひっくり返すのは僕らしないさ悲しみも弱さも君からこぼれたすべてでも差し伸べたい
Remember when I used to do these recommendations and tie them into Baki? I'm bringing that back this week. I just watched this show and I liked it a surprising amount. It's called SSSS, Dyna Xenon, which is, of course, a sequel to SSSS Gridman. I watched SSS Gridman when it came out ages ago. I watched almost no anime, but for some reason I decided to watch that one. And I remember liking it. I'm not recommending Gridman just because it's been a while since I've watched it. I think it's still good. And to be honest, you probably need to watch it first to really get Dyna Xenon. But the thing that I wanted to tie into Baki is I've realized that when I like anime, a lot of the time it's because I don't know what's going on. Like in Baki, you get dropped into it, you don't know what's going to happen next. It's like, oh, Retsu's here? Who's Retsu? Oh, he's going to fight. Okay. And Jack Hanma is here, and he drugged Retsu, and he's dragged him away. And then, Retsu's carrying a guy across a river. Like, you know what I mean? Dyna Xenon's sort of like that. It's very, I feel like I'm being reductive by saying it's Power Rangers-esque, because from my understanding, this is an anime reboot of a real property, the Gridman universe, that had its own thing different from Super Sentai or whatever. But basically, giant robot protects the city from kaiju. But the way these characters react is just so weird. Like, nobody really cares about the kaiju. Like they become basically Power Rangers, and the guy's like, I have a job I gotta go to. But also, he's like a high school. He's going to he's putting boxes up at the grocery store, and I don't know. The characters are so consistent, so odd. The world is consistent, but also doesn't make sense. Like, that's the magic spot for me, is where I don't know what's going on, but I can understand the characters' motivations, and that's what this show is, and it's just fun. Any Trigger show I find is the animators are having fun, and there's several moments in this show that are just so out of context. They're just they don't. You can just watch a 5-second moment of it and just be like, that's good. I don't need to know the rest of the show. So I give this a recommendation. Maybe watch SSSS Gridman first, but to be honest, you can probably skip it either way. They're both probably good. There's a movie. I got to watch that soon, once it's available on Crunchyroll or something. But yeah, that's my recommendation of the week. All right, time to watch the Bills. See ya.